Okay, let's post that I am live. If I go to Twitch, and honestly, I'm not 100% familiar with all these things. Now, how do I change the Twitch topic? Okay. All right. I've done the plumbing, and last time when I was live, I believe I was having some problem trying to validate stuff. That's now resolved, and it's kind of working like this. Where's my terminal? Yeah, npmr start. Wow, dev it is, not start. Okay, we were here, we were in auth register, we had this ugly looking form. We were trying to validate, but it wasn't working after submitting, but now it does. See, it's gone. If I delete, it's here. The way it now works is that if I go to page server ts, I got this Zod schema. I got rid of the ZFD, it's not really required. I got the Zod schema, and I got this nifty action called validate action, and this is a simple function that takes in a request and a schema, and then it takes out the form data and it gets all the values and converts it into an object, which I call old. Okay, it's a form data values. It just goes through each entry, puts it in a record. It's unknown because it can be string, it can be a file, so I don't know. That's put in here, and then we start trying to parse that. We convert the form data into an object. Here we use a dot path based thing. So you'll see this dot prop library being used. What it does is that it converts things like users 0 name into let's say users name, like that. So that's what it converts it into, and it also allows converting it back. So the way we do it is that in form data there is no such concept of nested objects. It's just a name and a value, a key value pair essentially. However, we want to simulate objects in that, and that's why we use dot notation to indicate a hierarchy or nested structure, and then we will convert that into a proper object here, and it returns a record of string unknown. It's a nested object here. And once we get the nested object as data, we are going to parse that and get the data back. You will see that this is whatever generic type which the schema is of. If it fails, and then automatically it goes to the catch block. However, if it succeeds but the request was only for validation, then we throw an action failure. Action failure is a sveltekit class, and that allows us to handle that on the front end. Even though the validation succeeded, we didn't really do any action, so I'm just returning a 204 with fail. Now this is a bit weird. Maybe we are failing even though we passed it, but that's required. And then in the Zod error, we get the errors, we convert that into an object. What kind of object? Again, it's basically Zod error path to dot prop path. Now we validated an actual object, but we need to change all the paths back to dot notation so that it matches with the form field. Otherwise, we will not be able to match the error with the form field name. And that's why we are doing this conversion. And the result is that you will have a nice object that has a field name as its key and the message as its value. And we fail that with 422 status, which is usually used for validation errors. So that's on the server side. We validate an action, we send it request and schema, and if it succeeds, then I mean, it's not just the validation that's succeeding. If the submission is also succeeding and it was not just the validation, the intent was to continue the execution and process the form. So this is where the form processing happens. At this point, I'm not really doing anything here. I'm just returning that. By the way, this old data is sent back so that it can be set on the form again. And yeah, if the validation action failed, either because it was only for validation and processing wasn't required, or it was the intent was to process but there were validation errors. In either case, we get an action failure which has a status in it, so we can simply figure that okay, the error is of the type action failure, so we can simply return that error. So yeah, this is how the server side works. And now on to the client. If we go here, you'll see that I have got this use validation directive. This directive is fairly simple. It's a function, and after the whole validation, real-time validation, starts only after the first submission. Otherwise, we would just be bombarding the servers unnecessarily, and it's not a good user experience. So what we do is we keep our state should validate initially as false, and then we got an abort controller so that we can abort previous requests to validate the data, so that there are no race conditions. Otherwise, it's possible that you make one call and that takes a bit of time. You make second call, that comes before the first one. That's possible, and then your whole data gets mixed up and wrong things can happen. So always abort the previous operation when you are actually, trying a new operation. Anyway, I have this nice function called call action, which is simply calling the backend. It accepts some headers. If there was an existing controller, that's aborted. Otherwise, and after that, a new controller is assigned. That is specific to this operation. We create form data from the form, and then we take the action from the form and method from the form, send all the data with the headers which we received with a signal from the abort controller. So when you execute controller abort next time, it actually cancels that HTTP request. And after that, we deserialize. This is how sveltekit works. You have to deserialize the sveltekit response, and after that you pass that to the result, and that applies and updates the page. So this is all standard sveltekit action stuff which you can find on its documentation. We do this on two occasions. One is when the form is submitted. We stop the browser submission and then call the action with sveltekit action true. This is required in case it's not strictly required. It's only required if you have server TS and page server TS, something like that. But I'm just putting it there. And then we make should validate true after the first submission. Okay. And handle change checks for that should validate. If there has been no submission so far, then we just return. If that's not the case, then we call the action with the X precognition true header, so that our backend, which checks for this header and stops the execution and form processing after successful validation, works. Right? So this line is very important for it to work. And it's also a debounced, so it only happens once in 500 milliseconds after the user stops typing. Otherwise, this would unnecessarily make more HTTP requests, which is not what we want. And yeah, everything works fairly well, smooth, backend validations, and yeah, you have all these things. And but I'm only displaying error for one field. So let's get started with the actual UI. We need a few components, and I was looking for ShadCN UI. That wasn't really there yet, but there's this thing called Melt UI, which is again apparently in early stages. Expect breaking changes and so on. Sure, I'm up for it. This is an experiment anyway, so let's try this one. I haven't really tried it, but this should be good. Installation, npm, let's go. Let's go. What are we doing here? Preprocessor installation. Okay, this is interesting. What kind of preprocessor? Okay, whatever kind it is, we will install that and figure out later. Melt. Okay, let's see where svelte config.js, and we put it there. Okay, preprocess. Sweet, preprocess is already there. That means I gotta put sequence here. go. Installation should be done. Okay, so basically it allows this HTML attribute called melt. That's nice. So it reduces the boilerplate. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Otherwise you would have to do all this long stuff which is not necessary, and builders that expect arguments for their action are not supported, and in those cases we'll have to use this. Sure. Okay, usage, quick start, whatever styling is completely left to us. So alrighty, let's go ahead. We need an input component. Let's find that. Is it not there? I mean, accordion, after checkbox, combo, context, hover, label. We got label. We got pen input. Ah, there is nothing there. But how is this being done then? That's kind of basic. Okay, it's just an regular input. You don't need anything. That's great. Okay, here we go. Let's do this. Where do we want it? Okay, we got lib, we got routes. Maybe we should create a components directory. Components, and we need label. I'm not really sure why I need this. What does it generate? Can we use from a single instance of the builder? Okay, sure, but I'm not too sure whether it needs to be disabled. Text selection. So I'll skip it. Let's just do the regular input. This is gonna be under form, so form input svelte, and let's just copy shared cn. There's no svelte, so shared cn UI. I really like the design of this. Components, input, so this is a good one. And then there must be something with label. Yeah, with label. So this is how it looks. Paste. There is no such thing called class name. Label is just label. It's not HTML for, and then we don't have anything called input. It's just input. Type email, placeholder email. Awesome. What's the error here? That's wrong. Label. Perfect. Of course, we need to take a few properties for this one. The way to do that is to declare a script. Language is gonna be TypeScript, and let's export let name. That's the first thing. That's mandatory. What's the error here? Component has a new sure. For we'll figure that out. then it can be, should it be controlled? I don't know. Maybe not. I don't see why we need to control that as of now. We should be handling these things at form level instead of field level. So export let name string, and then we need export let label, that's optional string. We will, what, string are undefined. We will create one from the name if it's not supplied, and we can ask for a placeholder. We can ask for text or the type. We can ask for, let's say, required, that's a boolean. Okay, that should be a good start. We need to, however, create a label from the name. How do we do that? Maybe not do that. Okay, let's do that. We need to change the case. So the way I'm gonna work through this is that, let's say if the field name is users 0 first name, for example, that should result in first name. What we do is we take the last segment from the path, and then we change the case of that into a title case. That should be good. So I know the right package for this. There's change case, and that's a nice one. So just yank it. And we got all sorts of these cases. I'll import, and we don't really need all these things, but what we do need is header case, I guess. Or sentence case. Let's go with sentence case. Yeah. So this is, I don't know whether it's still required if I'm providing default value. Let's see. Sentence case name. Yeah, and put that one here, label. Okay, let's fix these things. Type, placeholder, and then what does it say? Required. Okay, we got label. We need to also create an ID. So it's gonna be reactive. And yeah, this is not what I want. Let's just Sentence case, there is also something called param case, camel case, header case, Pascal, path, snake case. That is kebab case, that's param case. So let's try this param case name. That's gonna be the ID. So for should match. So let's do that. ID with the ID matches. Does it get reevaluated if it changes? I'm not 100% sure whether this will get reevaluated when things change, because it doesn't seem reactive. Only things that are labeled like this are reactive from what I understand, I guess. But okay, let's keep it this way. We will figure out if we encounter any issues. For now, this is good enough. Okay. Export, let type, string, these things are all good. Let required boolean, that's all fine. We got this, we got that. Where's name? We need to still put an actual name. Okay, so that shorthand is nifty. Nice. So this looks good. All right. But I don't think we got all the classes which were here. Okay, why do I have all these things? All right. That's quite a bit of classes, which I'm just gonna copy paste as is. Class, good. I'm not sure why we need height of 10 or flex on an input. Width full makes sense. Rounded MD, border input. What is border input? I'm not so sure what is the input here. Probably it has to do something with some Tailwind plugin, but I don't think I need that. Instead, I'll say border slate 300. BG says background now. Let's just do BG. Let's do BG transparent, whatever the color there was. That is good enough for me. Text SM, ring offset, background. File border 0, file BG transparent. I have no clue what file modifier does here. So I'm gonna get rid of that and figure out afterwards. Yeah, maybe it changes stuff specific to a file. I don't really need to think about it too much. Placeholder text muted. Nah, I don't know what muted foreground is. I'll just say placeholder text slate 500, something like that. focus visible, ring 2 visible, ring offset 2, cursor not allowed, disabled, opacity 0. That all looks good. Okay, we also need an error property, an error message. So let's do that. Export let error string undefined, and if an error exists, we do this. We simply display the error, and in shadcn UI there would be something like this, which is all good. We already have gap 1.5 to cover some gap here. We got label, we got error, we got everything. Let's try to go back to register and replace our input with the form field. How do I do that? I get the input. How do I do this dollar components thing? Does it? Okay. Is it there in svelte config? Svelte path alias. Okay, let's put that in here. src components. Do I have to do anything here? No. Hopefully everything automatically comes through. Yes, it does. All right, input name is required, so let's put that. Let's do, just since I was just experimenting with nested, so I wanted this, but I don't really need that. Let's say name. What does it need? Is missing placeholder and error are missing. Why? I thought I made those optional. Svelte optional prop. Okay, looks like a default value should be good. In that case, I'll keep things null. Instead of undefined. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, good. This is good. This is nice. Alrighty. And I need to also give it an error, and that's gonna be form errors name. Form errors name. Then yeah, value is something. Yeah, I need to receive value from outside, so yes, I'll have to put value here. Let's do that. Let value is that. And then let's use the value here. Okay, the value is gonna be form data. Now it's now called old name. All right, this is how everything looks. Register. The error is not being displayed. Why? Okay, because the validation object also needs to change. So let's get rid of this, all this, and let's add a Z here. Okay, perfect. The schema is changed, everything is good, and we got the error here. This is perfect. Everything is going as I wanted. If I now enter a few things, the error is gone. If I submit, the value stays. It's all good. It's all good, man. Input name is this. Now name is gonna be email. Email type is email. Error is email. Old email. Okay. And then password. Let's just copy this. Paste. 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 Okay. And then let's use the magic of multiple cursors here. We got password confirmation. Now we have this button type submit. Alright, the button doesn't look good at all. So let's get a nice button from ChatCN again. Okay, we have primary, secondary, destructive, outline, and ghost, and then link. All these different kinds of buttons. Okay, here we go. Button. This nice code, huh? Manual. Let's just copy all the colors. Form, button, svelte, and it's gonna be a button class, all that. Okay, inline flex makes sense. This will have children, item center, justify center, rounded MD, text SM, medium, ring offset, background. There is no such thing. Transition, colors, focus, visible, outline, ring, visible, ring. अब रिंग करे मेरा फोन, मैं पूछूं कौन. Shori boli, it's been so long. Okay, text primary, BG primary. BG is gonna be transparent. No. BG is gonna be let's go ahead with slate 700 or slate 800, and the text is gonna be like slate 50, hover, BG, slate 800 by 90. I don't like putting height. px4, py2 looks good. So this is the default button. How do we accept children in svelte? Svelte component children or child slots. Okay, that's that. That's some ugly okay, so this is better. All right, I should be able to accept lang ts, accept submit button, submit. So let's accept type. This is good. And then what else do we need? We'll need variants. We'll figure out as we need. For now, I can simply import the button. And we got this. Here we go. This looks good. Looks good already. But I like it a size bigger is what I feel. So let's go here. We had px4, py2. Maybe it's time for a py3. I like this size a bit more. px4, that's good. This is all makes sense. Now I want it to be full width. Export wide is gonna be a boolean. By default, let it be false. Now I want to change classes based on that. That means I need this CLSX library. Let's add that and import CSX from CLSX, and then we can probably calculate the class. From CLSX. I think this has done a good job. I'll just accept it and we'll modify later. Class can just be this. What's the error? Class is a result and cannot be used here. Oh, okay. Class name, here we go. Yeah, makes sense. Let's see how things are here now. Yeah, if wide, it should be full. Let's say wide. Yes, there we go, it's full width. And input, however, still does not have full width. Why? Maybe it needs to be a block. Let's see. Or is there a max width somebody has set? Okay, grid has enough space. Okay, where is it? Let's go to computed width 384. Huh. There is no max width. So the full width itself is coming to that. Why is that? And I have given it display of block. The grid. Yeah, it has a max, stupid max WSM. Okay, I don't need this. I don't need this. I want these kind of things to be controlled from outside. It should just extend to whatever width available. Item center, grid, and all that. That's all cool. Perfect. So this looks good, but there needs to be more spacing between these. So let's add some classes here. Space while 4, that's better. And let's add some padding, maybe. That makes sense. Okay, so that's our initial form, but this still does not really look that great. We will fix that at the layout level. For now, this form is ready. If I just hit submit, it throws all kinds of errors. So Prabhakar, the Prabhakar part at gmail.com, password confirmation. Fuck. How did it clear all these? Looks like I still have work to do. And I'm sure it has changed this also to undefined. Do I even have to specify this value? Is it hindering the things? Let's just try that out. Register. Yeah, it's hindering. I don't need to specify the value here. Let's just keep it without value. It unnecessarily does stupid stuff. So let's keep it like this, and all these fields are required, so we will do that much of HTML form validation. Let's say required. If I now try this, it says fill out these fields, so there is very less chance of backend validation actually needing to be run. So things like password confirmation or maybe email format, those things might require backend validation. Rest will actually happen on the front end itself. So we have actual validation only happening on the backend. Don't repeat yourself. I see in a lot of SPA implementations you do front end validation, you need to do back end validation, and then you have to merge both error messages, and there are a lot of edge cases. It just entirely goes away if you just do back end validation. Yeah, so this is how it looks. Now let's make a slightly better layout so that it comes in the middle and doesn't look this big. So let's add a layout in the auth folder and see how that goes. Layout svelte. We need a div for sure, and let's just say slot. Things still work, hopefully. If I inspect label grid form, where is my layout? Okay, time for sveltekit layout lesson. Yeah, I need to put this slot. Everything makes sense, but there's no this thing. Why? Okay, let's try layout svelte. Oh yeah, it has to be plus layout. This is something I don't understand, why there needs to be a plus, but that's the convention, or that's how it works. So let's just go ahead with that for now. Okay, what do I need first? First of all, I need to center this whole thing inside. So let's add a flex. Yeah, that makes sense. Items center, and then justify center. So that should move everything that's inside here to the center. And on this one, I'll give max width, let's say LG. I don't know what that is. Let's see. It doesn't look like anything happened. Yeah. A few things to be done. We need to first of all make the HTML and body and everything to be 100% height. This is something which almost every HTML body height 100%, everybody needs this. Okay, then we got this. I don't think max WLG is enough. Let's try Excel. That's not good either. Okay, it's time to visit tailwind and max width 896 is too much. 512, 448. Max WMD should be good, but okay, I think, and then W full. Yeah, this is better. In fact, it's a bit SM is good enough. Yeah, this is good, but this is vertically not centered. Let's see why that is, because I need to put an min height full on this. Alright, things are centered nicely. Let's also have a border on this and make it rounded LG. Yeah, that's beautiful. Let's add P8 on that, and inside our form now we don't need any P8s. So if we go here, we don't need any padding here. Okay, this is still a bit too much. Maybe 6 is good. Yeah, this looks good to me. So 6 it is. We got register form. Things look much better now. Now I need to also add actual backend for this. So when you register stuff, it should go there and it should actually save the data. That's very important. Anyway, I can close all these things. Let's try. This is a good time for me to just commit this. gcam registration form UI, and then let's go ahead. We didn't get a chance to use this yet. We will hopefully use it later on. We got all these things. If it's required, maybe, you know what, I've read somewhere that the right way to do this is, if it's not required, then we should say optional. So is there an unless? No. So if is what we need. So if not required, we say optional. Ha, so ugly. Looks like the ugliness knows no bounds. The formatter, whatever formatter this is, probably Prettier is not working or something. That's ugly formatting. Anyway, yeah, if things are not required, we say optional. So otherwise everything is just required. Okay, that's good. Let's now start saving some data. It looks like drizzle ORM is the hottest ORM nowadays. Let's go ahead and add that. Connect to any database and all. That's sure. No. Okay, documentation. This is good. We are gonna use Postgres and declare your first schema file. And where do I put that? We have components, we have lib. I would like to have, I use lib like utils. I need additional folders here. So let's say db, and let's add that to the svelte config. And inside db I'm going to add schema ts, put that here. Let's just call it name. Let's call it name. I like var variable characters. Why would I put another length of 256 on phone number? Wow. Email. In fact, 255 itself is too much for these things. Email, and we need a password. Okay, we don't need text. Let's get rid of that. So that's users. Run your first query. How do I actually do migrations? So schema is this. The migration SQL file, where will it actually generate? So you have given Postgres there. Why are you trying to put MySQL here, just to confuse us? Anyway, we need connection, installation, and database connection. Yeah, okay. Let's copy the whole thing and create a connection file and put this Postgres. Okay, what's the difference between Postgres JS and Postgres? Okay, let's add that, I guess, instead of the npm uninstall Postgres and this npm install Postgres.js. And also drizzle-kit. Looks like npm install Postgres is also required. Okay, it's being exported from the same package. What am I doing? But then why is this being a problem? Oh, this is why. You should read the error. Okay. Postgres, we need .env at this point. So let's do that. npm install. Okay, is that called .env node? Yes. All right. That also means in lib I can put an envts file where I declare a schema for Zord, where I say which exact env variables are required. So I need a database URL, which should be a string, and then export const env schema parse process env. That makes sense. Now I can import that env from lib env and use that. Okay, this is our connection, and then we need to run migration script. So let's do that. Migrate ts. Let's see how the migrations are supposed to happen here. Okay, this is the file. I don't need any of these things. Top level awaits, I don't know. Make this a module. Honestly, I don't even know whether that's required, but let's say it's required. So export nothing. So where did the migrate come from? Here. But that's not what I want. Postgres.js migrator. That's where I want it to come from. And migration client is this. Probably I'll have to export this as migration db drizzle migration client. Let's just call it connection. Migration connection. That's better. And in fact, I don't have to export this at all. So this is good. migrations folder, let's call it migrations. Then drizzle kit generate. What happens if I just do that? npx drizzle kit generate postgres schema. Okay, let's see if there is any help. Generate, there is pg, so it's not postgres. pg out is we need schema, which is src db schema ts, and out is src db migrations. Let's run that. Okay, it generated a nice migration thing, zippy firelord. That's neat. So it's time to just make this a command in, yeah, I should just do this. I should make a command out of it. Package JSON. Let's just add to the end. Let's call G for migrations, or G for generate migrations, and this is how it's going to be. Now I should be able to do npmrg. Okay, let's first rimraf src db migrations and npmr g migrations. Yes, it generates perfectly well. That's great. Next, we need to also migrate this. How do I migrate? I thought there is an up command. So drizzle kit help up pg is there. That should, if that's there, that means I don't really need output folder. Okay, it will do JSON based stuff and everything. How do I roll back here if I might just migrate? Is there a rollback? No. Looks like it's just a one-way street here, which is okay for me. So let's just do that. But I need to run TypeScript. How do I run TypeScript again? I can do TSC, but TS node should be good. So npm I ts node. There is also something called tsx, I believe. I don't know. Okay, fine. npm I dash d ts node. Let's create the db migrate and that will be ts node src db migrate. Let's try that. npm r db migrate. Okay. Unknown file extension ts. Are you kidding me? Dude, your ts node. It's in your package name. Okay. How? ts node, the path. Isn't that where src db migrate ts? Unknown file extension ts. Wow. What the heck is that? Of course, you don't know my file path. But this is happening with ts node. ESM. Are you sure about that? Fine. That had given me nothing but pain. Cannot find module connection. Yeah. This is where the difficult stuff starts, I believe. Integrating all these things. So what if I don't do that? Looks like it's time to end my stream. The easy parts are all done. The hard parts need some more research, it seems. All the time this bundles and transpiling, this is where things unnecessarily become difficult in JavaScript world. Sometimes I think maybe Rich Harris was right. I should have just used JavaScript instead of all these. Maybe with just JS doc comments. Maybe. Anyway, this is what we have. So let's go from here and let's see how things work. Alright, thank you so much. Thank you if you actually watched this. Alright.